embossed letters gleaming under my office lights. James and Victoria cordially invite you. My brother's wedding, the social event of the year, according to my mother's countless phone calls. She had been planning this for months, ever since James announced his engagement to Victoria Chen, daughter of one of the city's wealthiest families. The irony wasn't lost on me. 10 years ago, James had laughed when I dropped out of medical school to start my own company. Sarah's throwing her life away, he told our parents over dinner. She'll come crawling back when she runs out of money. I never did. Instead, I built Atlas Industries from the ground up, starting with a small tech startup in my garage. While James climbed the corporate ladder at Chen Enterprises, Victoria's family company, I was working 18-hour days, pouring everything I had into my dream. Not that my family noticed. They were too busy celebrating James's every promotion, every bonus, every small achievement. Miss Porter, my assistant's voice snapped me back to the present. The board meeting starts in 5 minutes. I nodded, setting the invitation aside. Today, Atlas Industries was worth over $2 billion. But I had kept my ownership private, operating through holding companies and subsidiaries. As far as my family knew, I was just another mid-level executive at some tech company. Also, my assistant added, Chen Enterprises sent over the final contract for the semiconductor deal. They're expecting signatures by the end of the week. Ah yes, the deal. $50 million worth of custom semiconductors that Chen Enterprises desperately needed for their new product line. They had no idea they were negotiating with my company, or more specifically, with me. The wedding was this weekend, and part of me wanted to skip it, but Mother had been insistent. Your brother is marrying into the Chen family, she'd said, her voice dripping with pride. Do try to dress appropriately for once. I'd built a billion-dollar company wearing jeans and hoodies, but in my mother's eyes, I was still a disappointment who couldn't maintain a proper appearance. The day of the wedding arrived, sunny and bright. I wore a simple but elegant black dress. Designer, though my family wouldn't recognize the subtle label. The ceremony was exactly as extravagant as you'd expect when old money married new money. 500 guests, crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, and enough flowers to fill a botanical garden. Sarah. My mother's voice carried across the church courtyard. She air-kissed my cheek, careful not to smudge her perfect makeup. You actually came, and you look presentable. Behind her, my father was deep in conversation with Mr. Chen, probably discussing the upcoming semiconductor deal. If only they knew. Where should I sit? I asked, glancing at the elaborate seating chart. My mother waved vaguely. Oh, we had to make some last-minute changes. Victoria's family had so many important guests to accommodate. You understand? I did understand. In my family's eyes, I was the embarrassment, the failure who'd thrown away a medical career to chase some entrepreneurial fantasy. What they didn't know was that Atlas Industries had recently acquired 3 of Chen Enterprises' major suppliers. The semiconductor deal was just the beginning. The ceremony was beautiful. I'll give them that. Victoria looked stunning in her designer gown, and James beamed with the confidence of someone who thought he had it all figured out. I sat in the back, watching as my brother married into what he thought was a more powerful family than his own. Then came the reception. I followed the crowd to the grand ballroom, looking for my name card among the elegantly set tables, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Looking for something, Victoria's voice came from behind me, sweet as artificial sugar. She changed into her reception dress, every inch the perfect bride. My seat, I said simply. Her perfectly painted lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Oh, didn't anyone tell you? We had to make some arrangements for the more distinguished guests. The kitchen staff set up a lovely table in the back. You know where the help eats. I heard snickers from nearby guests. James appeared at Victoria's side, champagne in hand. Come on, sis, don't make a scene. You've always been good at knowing your place. 10 years of condescension and dismissal flashed through my mind. 10 years of being treated like the family failure while I built something they couldn't even imagine. I smiled, pulled out my phone, and dialed a number I knew by heart. Jack, this is Sarah Porter. I maintained eye contact with my brother as I spoke. Cancel the semiconductor contract with Chen Enterprises. All of it. James's champagne glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Victoria's smile froze. What are you talking about? James demanded. What contract? I held up my phone, showing the Atlas Industries logo on the screen. The $50 million deal your new father-in-law has been counting on. The one that was supposed to save their quarter. The one that Atlas Industries, my company, was going to provide. The color drained from his face. Atlas, that's impossible. Atlas is a multi-billion dollar. You can't? Can't what, James? Build a successful company? Be more than what you and our parents decided I was worth? I slipped my phone back into my purse. Congratulations on your wedding. I'm sure the kitchen staff will save you some cake. The silence that followed my announcement was deafening. Guests around us froze, champagne glasses halfway to their lips, as they watched the drama unfold. Victoria's perfect bridal makeup couldn't hide the panic spreading across her face. You're lying, she hissed, grabbing my arm. Atlas Industries is owned by Simon Porter. Everyone knows that. I smiled. Simon Porter is my uncle. He's been the public face of the company while I built it from behind the scenes. Would you like to call him to verify? James's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. The semiconductors. Dad Chen's whole expansion plan depends on that contract. I know, I said calmly. Just like I know about the 3 failed product launches this year, the mounting debt, and the fact that Chen Enterprises has been operating on borrowed time and borrowed money for the past 18 months. Victoria's father appeared behind them, his usual confident demeanor cracking. What's going on here? James, why is your sister talking about our contract? I turned to face him, extending my hand. Mr. Chen, I don't believe we've been properly introduced. Sarah Porter, CEO of Atlas Industries, though you might know me better as SP Holdings from the negotiation calls. The great David Chen, titan of industry, stumbled backward as if I'd struck him. You're SP, the one who's been buying our supplier companies? Guilty, I smiled. Though I have to say, your due diligence team should have dug deeper. A simple background check would have revealed the connection. My mother pushed through the growing crowd, her face flushed with anger and champagne. Sarah, stop this nonsense immediately. You're ruining your brother's wedding. Nonsense. I pulled out my phone again, opening my banking app. Would you like to see Atlas's quarterly reports? Or maybe the ownership documents? I have them right here. James grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in painfully. Fix this, he growled. Whatever game you're playing, fix it now. I met his eyes steadily. Like you fixed things when I needed a loan to start my company. When I came to you for help and you laughed in my face. Get a real job, you said. Stop embarrassing the family. That was different, he protested. You were being unrealistic. Was I? I gestured around the opulent ballroom. Who paid for all this, James? Chen Enterprises, the company that's 3 months away from bankruptcy without my semiconductors. Victoria let out a choked sob, her perfect mascara starting to run. Daddy, is this true? Are we really? Mr. Chen loosened his bow tie, sweat beading on his forehead. Princess, it's complicated. Business is, we just need time to. Time won't help. I interrupted softly. Your company has been hemorrhaging money for years. The semiconductor deal was your last hope for a turnaround. And now? My father finally stepped forward, his face a storm of confusion and dawning realization. Sarah, all these years when we thought you were struggling, I was building an empire. I finished for him. One that's now worth more than Chen Enterprises and all its subsidiaries combined. Funny how appearances can be deceiving, isn't it? The murmurs from the wedding guests grew louder. Phones appeared in hands as people started searching for Atlas Industries, connecting the dots. Victoria's carefully curated society wedding was turning into a public relations nightmare. Please, James whispered, his arrogance finally cracking. Sarah, you can't do this. Not today. Think about what this will do to our family. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Our family? You mean the one that excluded me from every holiday photo because I didn't dress expensively enough? The one that told me I was throwing my life away because I didn't follow the path you chose? Mother stepped closer, trying to salvage the situation. Darling, we were just worried about you. We wanted you to have a stable career, a respectable life. Like James? I raised an eyebrow. The perfect son who's been embezzling from his department to cover his gambling debts? James went pale. How did you? I own the company that audits Chen Enterprises books, I said quietly. I know everything, James. Every cooked number, every fake report, every cent you've stolen. I was waiting to see how far you'd go before I exposed it. Victoria whirled on him, her designer dress whispering across the marble floor. You've been stealing from my father's company. The perfect wedding was unraveling thread by thread. Guests were openly recording now, society's elite capturing the moment a powerful family discovered they weren't as powerful as they thought. Mr. Chen's face had turned purple with rage. Security. Get them out. All of them. I wouldn't do that, I said calmly, unless you want Atlas to call in all the loans we've acquired from your creditors. We own quite a bit of Chen Enterprises debt now. It would be a shame if it all came due at once. The security guards froze, looking uncertainly between Mr. Chen and me. Power was shifting in real time, and everyone could feel it. What do you want? Mr. Chen finally asked, his voice hoarse. I straightened my simple black dress, the one my mother had sneered at earlier. Want? I have everything I want. A successful company, respect in the business world. The satisfaction of knowing that the family who dismissed me now depends on my mercy for their survival. James stepped forward, his handsome face twisted with desperation. Sarah, please. We can work something out. Maybe a board position at Chen Enterprises, full partnership in the family business. Partnership? I smiled. James, by this time next week, I'll own controlling interest in Chen Enterprises. Your gambling debts and Victoria's father's mismanagement have seen to that. The semiconductor deal was just a formality, a courtesy before the takeover. Victoria sank into a nearby chair, her wedding dress pulling around her like broken dreams. This can't be happening. Not today, not at my wedding. The kitchen staff really does have a lovely table set up, I said, echoing her earlier sneer. Perfect for a family in your new position. My mother tried one last time. Sarah, think about what you're doing. We're your family. No, I said quietly. You're the people who taught me that success only counts if it comes with designer labels and society connections. Thank you for that lesson. It made building my company in secret so much sweeter. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and James, those gambling debts you've been hiding? Atlas now owns those too. We'll be in touch about a payment plan. The grand ballroom erupted in chaos behind me as I walked away. Victoria's sobs echoed off the crystal chandeliers, mixed with Mr. Chen's angry shouts and my mother's attempts to maintain social dignity. Outside, my Tesla waited at the valet stand, not the flashy sports car James drove, but the understated model preferred by tech executives who actually built something. My driver, who was also my head of security, held the door. Everything okay, Ms. Porter? I looked back at the expensive venue, where my family's carefully constructed world was crumbling. Everything's perfect, Mike. Let's head to the office. We have a company to acquire. The next few weeks were a blur of headlines and business meetings. Chen Enterprises' stock plummeted as news of their financial troubles and James's embezzlement leaked. Victoria filed for annulment, unwilling to be tied to a failing dynasty. My parents tried desperately to reach me, leaving voicemails that evolved from angry demands to tearful pleas. I focused on what I did best, building and improving. Atlas Industries absorbed Chen Enterprises' valuable assets while discarding the bloat and corruption. We retained most of the employees, but restructured the management, starting with James' department. 3 months after the wedding that wasn't, I sat in my office reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant announced an unexpected visitor. Send them in, I said, not looking up from my tablet. The door opened, and expensive perfume filled the air. My mother stood there, looking older and less certain than I'd ever seen her. The receptionist didn't recognize me, she said quietly. I had to show ID to prove I was your mother. Security protocol, I replied, finally meeting her eyes. We've had some interesting visitors since the takeover. She sat down uninvited, her designer bag, last season's model now, clutched in her hands. Your father and I, we've been doing a lot of thinking about how we treated you, about what we failed to see. And I kept my voice neutral. And we were wrong, she whispered. So terribly wrong. We thought success looked like James, all flash and no substance. We didn't understand that real success was what you were building. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. Did you come here to apologize, Mother? Or because the country club membership is up for renewal and you need help with the fees? She flinched. We deserve that. We deserve all of it. But Sarah, you're still our daughter. Surely that means something. It meant nothing when I needed your support, I said calmly. Why should it mean something now that I don't? A tear slipped down her perfectly made-up face. Because we've learned. Because seeing everything you've built, everything you've become. We're so proud of you, Sarah. Even if we don't deserve to be. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city where my company had become a major force. Pride is easy when success is visible, Mother. The question is, would you have been proud of me during the struggle? When I was working out of a garage, wearing the same clothes every day because every spare cent went into the company? No, she admitted softly. We wouldn't have been. And that's our shame to carry. I turned back to face her. James called again yesterday. He wants a job at Atlas. And I told him what he told me 10 years ago. Get some real experience first. Stop relying on family connections. She nodded slowly. He's living in our guest room now. Victoria's family. They want nothing to do with us since the scandal. The mighty fall hard, I observed. How does it feel, Mother, being on the other side of society's judgment? Humbling, she whispered. Terrifying. Educational. I returned to my desk and pressed a button on my phone. Clara, please bring in the package for Mrs. Porter. My assistant appeared moments later with a thick envelope. I handed it to my mother. What's this? She asked, opening it carefully. A fresh start, I said. Information about the small business loan program Atlas runs. Real estate listings for affordable commercial spaces. Contact details for legitimate business advisors. Everything you need to build something real, if you're willing to do the work. She stared at the papers, then at me. You'd help us? After everything? I'm not helping, I corrected her. I'm offering an opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. But understand this, there will be no shortcuts, no special treatment, no trading on the Porter name. If you want to succeed, you'll do it the way I did, through hard work and real value. My mother stood, clutching the envelope like a lifeline. Thank you, Sarah, for the opportunity and for the lesson. One more thing, I said as she reached the door. That kitchen table at James's wedding? Best seat in the house. It's where you see people's true colors. She nodded, understanding the message. As the door closed behind her, I returned to my work. The company I built needed my attention, and I had more important things to do than dwell on the past. Sometimes the best revenge isn't serving someone humble pie. It's making them eat it at the kitchen table they set for you. And sometimes the greatest success isn't in proving others wrong, but in proving yourself right. Atlas Industries continues to grow, now one of the most respected companies in the tech sector. James eventually found work as a junior analyst at a small firm. Learning the value of honest work, my parents opened a small boutique with a loan they qualified for. Nothing flashy, but something real. And me? I still keep my old garage workbench in my office. It reminds me of where I started and why appearances mean nothing compared to what you actually build. The kitchen table, after all, is where real work gets done.
With that particular smile she reserved for her disappointments. The main dining room is for, well, you understand. I glanced through the French doors of the country club's exclusive dining room, where my more successful siblings were already gathered around the table for Dad's 70th birthday celebration. Crystal glasses clinked as they toasted their latest achievements, designer labels gleaming under the chandelier light. Of course, I replied softly, smoothing my simple black dress, expensive but understated, unlike my sister Rebecca's ostentatious Versace or my brother Michael's flashy Tom Ford suit. It's just. Mom adjusted her pearls nervously. With your immodest career choices, we thought you'd be more comfortable out here. Away from all the business talk. Modest career choices. That's what they called building a tech empire in secret while they thought I was just doing something with computers. The patio is for failures, Michael called out through the open door, raising his champagne glass with a smirk. But hey, at least you can watch the real success from out there, sis. I checked my phone discreetly, 3 missed calls from my executive team about the emergency board meeting. The acquisition we'd been working on for months had suddenly accelerated. $8 billion hung in the balance, but my family was too busy celebrating their small victories to notice my silent empire. Did you hear about Michael's new partnership? Mom gushed as she arranged my patio place setting like an afterthought. $20 million in new business. And Rebecca's fashion line is being featured in Vogue. I nodded politely, thinking about the contract sitting in my private jet waiting to be signed. The one that would make their achievements look like pocket change. And you, dear? He paused, struggling to show interest. How's your computer thing going? It's fine, I said, the same answer I'd given for years while building my company from scratch. Let them think I was struggling. Let them seat me on the patio. The helicopter would be here soon enough. My sister Rebecca sashayed out, champagne in hand. Oh, darling, you really should let me help you with your wardrobe. This simplicity, it's not doing you any favors. How can you expect to be taken seriously? I suppressed a smile, thinking about the Forbes cover shoot scheduled for next month. Tech's newest billionaire, the silent empire of Catherine Chin. The headline would certainly be interesting reading for the family. And really, she continued, eyeing my subtle makeup and understated jewelry, you could at least try to look successful. Fake it till you make it, though I suppose in your case the making it part seems unlikely. My phone buzzed again, my CFO this time. Deal terms improved. Urgency critical. Yawn helicopter. 20 minutes, I texted back, watching my family's self-congratulatory celebration through the glass. Inside, Dad was holding court, beaming as Michael detailed his latest impressive real estate deal. Now that's how you build a legacy, he declared, raising his glass. To real success. The toast echoed through the dining room, none of them noticing that I didn't raise my water glass in response. They never noticed much about me, really. Not my graduated degrees, not my strategic investments, not the way I'd quietly built something far bigger than their combined achievements. Catherine, my father called out through the open door, his voice carrying that familiar note of disappointment. Sure you won't join us? Michael's about to share his vision for expanding the family business. The family business, a modest real estate firm that Michael had been running into the ground while claiming unprecedented success. The same firm I'd secretly bought through a shell company last month, though they wouldn't know that until the papers were signed tonight. I'm fine here, I replied, checking my watch. 15 minutes until everything changed. Your loss, Michael shrugged, launching into his grand plans. We're looking at a potential $50 million in development deals next year. Of course, that kind of success requires a certain understanding of real business. I heard the distant whir of helicopter blades as my phone lit up with another urgent message. Board assembled. Waiting on CEO. Did anyone else hear that? Rebecca frowned, peering through her champagne glass at the darkening sky. The sound grew louder as my sleek black helicopter approached, my company's Phoenix logo clearly visible on its side. Who on earth? My mother started, but her voice trailed off as the helicopter began its descent onto the country club's lawn, sending the perfectly manicured garden furniture scattering. Through the glass, I watched champagne glasses freeze halfway to lips as my family stared in disbelief. The next few minutes would certainly be interesting. The helicopter's blades slowed as my security team emerged, their earpieces and professional demeanor a stark contrast to the country club's stuffy atmosphere. Through the glass doors, I could see my family's expressions shifting from annoyance to confusion to dawning realization as my head of security approached me on the patio. Ms. Chin, he said crisply, the board is assembled. Time-sensitive situation requires your immediate attention. Of course, James, I replied, standing up from my isolated patio table. The acquisition papers are ready. Yes, ma'am. $8 billion pending your signature. The markets in Asia open in 3 hours. The sound of shattering glass drew my attention. Michael had dropped his champagne flute, his face draining of color as he processed the numbers being discussed so casually on his designated failure patio. 8 billion, my mother whispered, her perfectly manicured hand clutching her pearls. Catherine, my father stepped onto the patio, his authority wavering for the first time in my memory. What exactly is going on? I smiled, pulling out my phone to display the breaking news alert that had just popped up. Breaking. Tech giant Phoenix Industries in final stages of historic acquisition, CEO Catherine Chin to close $8 billion deal. Just some business that needs my attention, I replied casually, enjoying the way Rebecca's designer heel wobbled as she stumbled backward. You know, my little computer thing, you never bothered to ask about. But you're not. Michael sputtered, his dreams of 50 million suddenly looking rather small. You can't be the CEO of Phoenix Industries? I finished for him. The same Phoenix Industries that's been buying up tech companies across 3 continents? The one that's about to close the largest acquisition in the industry this year. I paused, letting it sink in. The one that secretly bought your struggling real estate firm last month? The patio fell silent except for the gentle whir of the helicopter's idling blades. You bought our company? My father's voice cracked. Through a shell corporation, I nodded. Michael's unprecedented success was actually unprecedented failure. The books were a mess. Luckily, I was there to save the family legacy before he bankrupted it completely. Rebecca stepped forward, her Versace dress suddenly looking gaudy rather than impressive. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you. I laughed softly. Like when you told the country club I was finding myself with my cute little startup? Or when Michael told his business partners not to waste time on my amateur tech projects. My phone buzzed again, another urgent message from my executive team. The situation really was time-sensitive, but I was enjoying this moment too much to rush. Miss Chin, James reminded me gently, the board is waiting. Of course, I picked up my simple leather briefcase, the one Rebecca had mocked as tragically unfashionable just hours earlier. Dad, I'm afraid I'll have to cut the birthday celebration short. $8 billion waits for no one, not even family disappointments exiled to the patio. Wait, my mother called out, her social climbing instincts kicking in. Perhaps we should rearrange the seating. The head of the table is really more appropriate for someone of your position. Now you want me at the head of the table? I turned back, watching their faces. After years of backhanded comments? After relegating me to the patio because my modest career choices embarrassed you? After treating me like the family failure because I didn't brag about my success? Michael stepped forward, his deal-maker smile plastered on. Sis, we should discuss this. Maybe explore some synergies between our businesses. You mean the business I already own? I raised an eyebrow. The one you ran into the ground while boasting about your brilliant leadership? That business. The sound of another helicopter approaching drew everyone's attention. My CFO's arrival with the final contracts right on schedule. 2 helicopters? Rebecca whispered, her grip on her champagne glass turning her knuckles white. The second one's just bringing paperwork, I said casually, watching their eyes widen further. When you're closing an $8 billion deal, you need proper transportation. The days following my dramatic exit from Dad's birthday party were a symphony of desperate attempts at reconciliation and damage control from my family. My phone buzzed constantly with their messages. Michael, we should discuss the real estate firm's future. I have some innovative ideas. Rebecca, darling, let me style you for the Forbes shoot. Your simplicity is so last season. Mom, the club is buzzing about your helicopters. The Vandermiltons want to host a gala in your honor. Dad, Princess, I always knew you had potential. Let's talk about your role in the family legacy. I forwarded them all to my assistant with one note. Archive under too little too late. The morning papers were deliciously satisfying. Tech's hidden billionaire. The quiet rise of Catherine Chin. Phoenix Industries CEO closes $8 billion deal from country club lawn. From patio to penthouse. How a family's failure built an empire. Sitting in my corner office 50 stories above the city, I watched the business news channels scramble to tell my story. The modest woman who'd built a tech empire while her family dismissed her as a failure was apparently quite newsworthy. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Your sister is in the lobby again. She's carrying what appears to be a peace offering from Hermes. Let me guess, I smiled. The same bag she told me was aspirational for someone of my means last Christmas? The very same. Should I send her up? I glanced at my schedule, specifically at the meeting with international investors who were eager to back my next venture. My net worth had jumped another $1 billion since the acquisition, not that my family's gifts could reflect that yet. No, I decided. But please give her my business card. My real business card. I could imagine Rebecca's face as she read my actual title for the first time. Catherine Chin CEO and founder Phoenix Industries. The same company that had been making headlines across global markets while she was busy critiquing my wardrobe choices. My phone rang, Dad this time. I put it on speaker while reviewing acquisition proposals. Catherine, his voice had lost its usual patronizing tone, we need to discuss the family business. Now that we know about your resources. Which business? I asked innocently. The tech empire you never noticed I was building? Or the real estate firm I had to rescue from your golden child's mismanagement? Both, he said quietly. I may have underestimated you. They have. I laughed softly. Like when you said I was hiding from real success in my tech startup. Or when you told the board I wasn't ambitious enough for the family business. I was wrong, he admitted, probably the first time those words had ever left his lips. Yes, I agreed. You all were. And that was the greatest gift you could have given me. What do you mean? While you were all busy looking successful, I was busy becoming successful. While you chased appearances, I built substance. While you networked at country clubs, I created actual value. The best part? None of you saw it coming because you were too busy feeling superior. My assistant appeared in the doorway, signaling that my investors were arriving. I have to go, I told Dad. Unlike some people, I actually built my success instead of just talking about it. Wait, he said quickly. Your mother's hosting a family dinner tonight. Can't make it, I cut him off. I'm closing another acquisition. But feel free to discuss Michael's 50 million dreams without me. I'm sure they sound very impressive from the patio. The next day, I received a flood of texts as my family apparently discovered my feature in Fortune magazine. Michael, this changes everything. We should strategize. Mom, darling, I always knew you had potential. I forwarded them all to a special folder labeled Patio Memories, and turned my attention to the acquisition proposals on my desk. One in particular caught my eye. An opportunity to buy the country club where they'd exiled me to the patio. My phone buzzed with another message, this time from the family group chat I'd been excluded from for years. Emergency family meeting tonight. Mandatory attendance. We need to discuss the future of the Chin family enterprises. I replied with a single message, can't attend. Too busy being successful in my own way. But feel free to book a meeting through my office. I believe there's an opening next quarter. On the patio, of course. Then I called my real estate team. The country club? Make the offer. And when they accept, change the seating policy. From now on, success doesn't have a designated dining room. The next morning, my family arrived at their favorite lunch spot to find new ownership notices on the doors. A Phoenix Industries property, Catherine Chin, CO. Sometimes success doesn't need to be announced with designer labels and champagne toasts. Sometimes it just needs to be revealed at exactly the right moment, when those who doubted you finally realize that the person they banished to the patio now owns the entire club. Me. I went back to work in my modest office, which by the way now commanded views of half the city's skyline. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't proving them wrong, it's letting them slowly discover just how right you were all along. The emergency board meeting they dismissed as unimportant? It added another billion to my net worth. The helicopters they'd stared at in shock? Just two of the fleet I used to manage my global empire. The simple black dress they'd mocked? Customized couture that cost more than Michael's annual salary. But the best part wasn't the money or the power or even the sweet taste of vindication. It was the knowledge that while they'd been posturing and preening and playing at success, I'd built something real. Something lasting. Something that didn't need designer labels or country club approval to prove its worth. The next time I received an invitation to a family function, it came with a handwritten note. Head of the table reserved for you. No patio seating available. I sent back my regrets along with a copy of my latest acquisition report. Sorry, busy buying another company. But feel free to discuss it over champagne, preferably the kind that doesn't shatter when you hear big numbers. Because in the end, success isn't about where you sit at dinner. It's about owning the whole restaurant. And the building it's in. And maybe, if you're feeling particularly nostalgic, the patio where they once thought they could hide their shame. Welcome to my empire. Patio seating not required. Dad had dreamed of for his 60th birthday, crystal chandeliers casting warm light over pristine white tablecloths, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan's glittering skyline, and the kind of impeccable service that comes with Michelin 3-star dining. The evening had cost me $3,000 to arrange. But seeing the joy on my father's face as he savored his favorite lobster dish made every penny worth it. This is incredible, sweetheart, Dad said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. I can't believe you managed to get us a private room here. Don't they have a 6-month waiting list? Something like that, I replied with a smile, not mentioning that I'd gotten the reservation through my company's corporate account, the same account that had catered 3 major events here in the past month totaling over $500,000. My older sister Amanda set down her wine glass with a sharp clink against the table. At 32 she was a successful marketing director at a prestigious Manhattan firm, and she never let anyone forget it. Her husband Derek, an investment banker, nodded in agreement as she spoke. "Jessica, we need to have a serious conversation," Amanda said, her voice taking on that condescending tone I'd grown to hate over the years. "On Dad's birthday?" I asked, hoping to deflect whatever criticism was coming. "Especially on Dad's birthday. Look around this room. Do you have any idea how much this dinner is costing? Lou Bernardine doesn't do casual dining. The wine alone probably costs more than your monthly rent." Mom, elegant in her pearl necklace and navy dress, looked uncomfortable. "Amanda, maybe this isn't the time." "No, Mom, someone needs to say it." Amanda's voice was getting louder, drawing glances from our waiter who was preparing the next course. "Jessica is 26 years old, living in a studio apartment in Queens, working some vague consulting job that none of us understand, and yet she's constantly trying to pay for expensive dinners, buying elaborate gifts, acting like she has money she clearly doesn't have." "I do have money," I said quietly. Derek laughed, the sound harsh and mocking. "Really? What's your annual income, Jessica?" "Because Amanda makes $180,000 a year plus bonuses. I make $350,000. We know what real money looks like." "Stop pretending you have money, Jessica," Amanda continued, her voice now carrying across the dining room. "It's embarrassing. For all of us. You're going to end up in debt trying to keep up appearances." My younger brother Michael, 24 and fresh out of his MBA program, nodded seriously. "Amanda's right. I've been tracking my expenses since graduation, and I know exactly what it costs to live in New York. There's no way a freelance consultant can afford dinners like this." "Freelance consultant?" I repeated, genuinely confused. "Whatever it is you do with computers," Amanda said dismissively. "The point is, you need to stop this fantasy and start living within your means. Dad's birthday dinner should be at a nice chain restaurant, not the most expensive place in Manhattan." Dad looked stricken. "If this is too much." "It's not too much for me," I said firmly. "This is exactly where I wanted to celebrate Dad's birthday." "With what money?" Amanda demanded. "Your credit cards are probably maxed out paying for this charade." "I'm not using credit cards." Derek pulled out his phone. "You know what? Let's settle this right now. Show us your bank account balance. If you really have money, prove it." "Derek," Mom said sharply, "that's inappropriate." "No, it's necessary," Amanda said. "Jessica needs a reality check before she ruins her financial future trying to impress us." I looked around the table at my family, these people I loved dearly who had supported me through college and celebrated my achievements, but who had somehow concluded that I was living beyond my means and heading for financial ruin. "You really think I can't afford this dinner?" I asked. "We know you can't afford this dinner," Amanda said. "The question is whether you're finally ready to admit it." The waiter approached our table with the dessert course, an elaborate chocolate souffle that was Dad's favorite. As he set it down, I could see him trying to pretend he hadn't heard the increasingly tense conversation. "Actually," I said, reaching into my purse, "let me prove you right." I pulled out my Black American Express card, the invitation-only Centurion card that required a $10,000 annual fee and had no preset spending limit. The card was made of titanium and had a distinctive weight that somehow felt reassuring in my hand. "Oh, please," Amanda rolled her eyes. "A black card? How much did you pay for that fake?" "It's not fake, Jessica," Derek said with exaggerated patience. "Real black cards require you to charge at least $250,000 per year. They don't just give them to anyone. I know what they require." I handed the card to our waiter, who accepted it professionally despite the obvious family tension. "For the full bill, please." "Of course, Ms. Anderson." As he walked away, Amanda shook her head sadly. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're so desperate to appear successful that you're using fake credit cards. Do you have any idea what the penalty is for credit card fraud?" "It's not fraud." "Then why are you so nervous?" Michael observed. "You look like you're about to throw up." "I wasn't nervous about the card being fake," I was nervous about what was going to happen when it got declined for an entirely different reason. A reason my family would never expect. 5 minutes later, our waiter returned, looking apologetic and slightly confused. Ms. Anderson, I'm sorry, but there seems to be an issue with your card. The table fell silent. An issue? I asked, though I had a pretty good idea what the issue was. It was declined. Would you like to try another payment method? The silence that followed was deafening, then Amanda burst out laughing. Oh my God, Jessica. Your fake black card got declined. This is priceless. Derek was laughing too. A fake Centurion card that doesn't even work. That's a new low. I told you she was pretending, Amanda said to our parents, who looked mortified. Now we're all going to be stuck with this bill because Jessica had to play dress up. Michael was shaking his head. Jess, this is seriously messed up. Using fake credit cards, lying about having money. I wasn't lying, I said, but my voice was lost in their laughter and criticism. Ma'am, the waiter said quietly, should I bring the bill to someone else? Just give me a minute, I said, pulling out my phone. What are you doing? Amanda asked, still giggling. Calling your credit card company to ask why your fake card doesn't work. I was about to respond when a man in an expensive suit hurried into our private dining room. I recognized him immediately, Thomas Chin, the restaurant's general manager, who I'd worked with extensively on several large catering events. Ms. Anderson, he said, slightly out of breath. I'm so sorry. I just heard about the payment issue. The laughter at our table stopped abruptly. Thomas, I said calmly, is there a problem with the payment system? No, the system is fine. The issue is that we still owe you $500,000 from last month's catering contract. Your black card was declined because our accounting department flagged it. We can't charge someone who we already owe money to. The silence that fell over our table was absolute. I could hear the soft jazz music playing in the main dining room, the distant clink of silverware, the gentle hum of conversation from other tables. But at our table nothing. $500,000? Dad whispered. From the Morrison Industries Gala, the Goldman Sachs private dinner, and the United Nations reception, Thomas explained, consulting his tablet. All catered through your company, Anderson Events. We've been trying to process the payment, but your accounting department said to hold the check until after the quarterly review. That's fine, Thomas. Just comp tonight's dinner against the outstanding balance. Of course, Ms. Anderson. Again, my sincere apologies for the confusion. He hurried away, leaving us in stunned silence. Anderson Events? Mom asked weakly. Pie company, I said simply. Your company, Amanda repeated, her voice barely audible. The event planning and catering business I've been building for the past 4 years. Derek was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. You own an event planning company? I own the largest luxury event planning company on the East Coast. We handle corporate galas, private parties, weddings, and cultural events for high-net-worth clients and Fortune 500 companies. But you said you were a consultant, Michael said. I said I consult with people about events. Which is technically accurate. Amanda's face had gone completely white. How large is the largest luxury event planning company? I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, turning the screen so they could all see it. Last year's revenue was $47 million. This year we're on track for $68 million. $68 million, Dad said faintly. Dollars. Our client list includes 12 Fortune 100 companies, 43 high-net-worth individuals with assets over $50 million, and we're the exclusive event planners for the United Nations, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the New York Philharmonic. The Metropolitan Museum, Mom whispered. You know that charity gala you attended last month? The one for cancer research that raised $12 million? I planned that event. Derek was frantically typing on his phone. Anderson Events. Holy shit. You're Jessica Anderson? The Jessica Anderson. I'm a Jessica Anderson. I don't know if I'm the Jessica Anderson. Forbes 30 Under 30, he read from his phone. Named one of New York's most influential event planners. Estimated net worth of $25 million. $28 million as of last quarter, I corrected quietly. Amanda looked like she was going to be sick. $28 million? Plus the value of the business itself, real estate holdings and investment portfolio. But you live in Queens, Michael said weakly. I live in a penthouse in Long Island City with a private terrace overlooking Manhattan. The building has its own helipad. Helipad. It's convenient for getting to events in the Hamptons. The waiter returned with a bottle of champagne. Compliments of the house, Ms. Anderson. Manager Chen wanted to apologize again for the payment confusion. As he poured the champagne into our glasses, the silence at our table stretched on. My family was processing the information, trying to reconcile the sister and daughter they thought they knew with the multimillionaire businesswoman sitting across from them. I don't understand, Dad said finally. You're worth $28 million and you let us think you were struggling? I never said I was struggling. You live simply. You dress modestly. You drive a regular car, Amanda said, her voice still shocked. I live simply because I work 18-hour days and don't have time for material possessions. I dress modestly because my clients need to focus on their events, not on my outfit. And I drive a regular car because it's reliable and doesn't draw attention. But why didn't you tell us? Mom asked, tears starting to form in her eyes. Because I wanted you to love me for who I am, not what I've achieved. Because I wanted to build something completely on my own, without anyone being able to say I succeeded because of family connections or help. We don't have connections in event planning, Derek pointed out. Exactly. Which is why I knew that whatever I built would be entirely my own accomplishment. Amanda was still staring at her phone, reading what appeared to be news articles about my company. You planned the Bloomberg Foundation Gala. The one that was covered in Vanity Fair. And the Rockefeller wedding, the Goldman Sachs anniversary party, and the UN's 75th anniversary celebration. The UN anniversary celebration, Michael repeated slowly. That was on the news. They said it was the most expensive private event in New York history. $12 million budget. Took 6 months to plan and execute. And you planned it. I planned it, managed it, and executed it flawlessly. Just like I've done for 200 other major events in the past 4 years. Dad reached across the table and took my hand. Sweetheart, I'm so proud of you. But I'm also confused. Why all the secrecy? Because I was afraid of this. I gestured around the table. I was afraid that once you knew about the money, you'd start seeing me differently. That suddenly my opinions would matter more, that you'd treat me like someone important instead of just, Jessica. You are someone important, Mom said firmly. You're our daughter. But would you have said that an hour ago when you thought I was a struggling consultant? The question hung in the air unanswered because we all knew the truth. I feel like an idiot, Amanda said quietly. I spent the entire evening lecturing you about money management when you're worth more than Derek and I will probably make in our entire careers combined. You're not an idiot. You were trying to protect me from what you thought was financial irresponsibility. By humiliating you in front of the entire restaurant. By caring enough about my future to risk an uncomfortable conversation. Derek was still scrolling through his phone. According to this article, you employ 200 people full-time and another 500 contractors. 237 full-time employees as of last week, I corrected. We just hired a new creative director. You have employees, Michael said, shaking his head in amazement. I have employees, office space in Manhattan and the Hamptons, a warehouse facility in Queens, and partnerships with vendors across the country. And we thought you were broke, Amanda said, laughing despite herself. Not broke. Just not interested in flaunting wealth. Thomas Chin returned to our table with a leather folder. Ms. Anderson, I've taken care of tonight's charges. They've been applied to your outstanding balance. Is there anything else we can do for you this evening? Actually, Thomas, I'd like to book the private wine cellar for next month. I'm planning a surprise anniversary party for my parents. Of course. 50 guests. Make it 100. I want to invite the extended family. Consider it done. I'll have my events coordinator contact your office tomorrow. After he left, Mom was crying openly now. A surprise anniversary party? 35 years deserves something special. I was thinking a jazz trio, your favorite flowers, and that chocolate dessert Dad loves. But the cost. Dad started. Dad, I plan $12 million events for clients. Your anniversary party will be the most important event I plan all year, and cost won't be a factor. Because you're rich, Amanda said, still processing. Because you're my family and I love you. The champagne had been poured and Dad raised his glass with slightly shaking hands. To my daughter Jessica, who apparently has been surprising us for years. To family, I corrected, and to the people who love you even when they think you're making terrible financial decisions. To family, everyone echoed, and for the first time all evening, the laughter around our table was warm and genuine. I have one more question, Michael said as we finished our champagne. The black card that got declined is completely real. Centurion cards get declined when the merchant owes you more money than you're trying to spend. Which happens to you regularly? More often than you'd think. The catering business involves a lot of upfront expenses and delayed payments. Amanda shook her head. My sister, the secret millionaire. Not secret anymore. Are you happy? Mom asked suddenly. With everything you've built, all the success, are you actually happy? I looked around the table at my family. These people who had raised me, supported me through college, and worried about my financial future even when they had no idea what my actual finances looked like. I love what I do. I love the challenge of creating perfect events, the satisfaction of exceeding clients' expectations, the thrill of managing complex logistics. And I love being able to use my success to give Dad the birthday dinner he deserves. At Le Bernardin, Dad said, smiling through his own tears. At the best restaurant in New York, because that's where my father deserves to celebrate his 60th birthday. Even if his children thought his daughter couldn't afford it, Amanda added ruefully. Especially because his children love him enough to worry about financial responsibility. Derek raised his glass again. To Jessica Anderson, event planning mogul and apparently the most successful person any of us know. To Jessica, Mom corrected, who remembered that family is more important than keeping secrets. As we left Le Bernardin that evening, walking out into the cool Manhattan night, I realized that some revelations are worth the temporary embarrassment they cause. My family knew the truth now, and somehow that made everything I'd built feel more real, more meaningful. Next time, Amanda said, linking her arm through mine, maybe just lead with, I'm a multi-millionaire, instead of letting us worry about your fake credit cards. Deal, I laughed. As long as you promise to keep worrying about my financial decisions. Successful or not, I still need my big sister looking out for me. Always, she said. Though maybe with a little less public humiliation next time. Where's the fun in that? The walk back to our cars was filled with questions about the business, stories about celebrity clients, and plans for the anniversary party. But mostly, it was filled with the kind of comfortable family conversation that comes when you finally stop pretending to be someone you're not. Sometimes the best gift you can give your family isn't an expensive dinner or a surprise party. It's the gift of being completely, authentically yourself. Even when that self happens to be worth $28 million.